Oh my God. Do not take...
Hello?
I want to get out of here.
God.
I want to get out of here.
Where are we gonna go?
Oh my God.
Shit.
Oh God.
Where the hell are we?
An ambulance or someone to...
Welcome back with me to the channel that faithfully gives you a review of new movies that give you goosebumps. How is it going, loyal viewers? This time I will discuss a movie that is not only terrible, but also full of mystery and really worth watching. The title of the movie that we will review this time is The Bay, 2012. Instead of lingering, let's just go straight to the discussion. Oh yeah, if you like this channel, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss other exciting videos. Prepare yourself mentally, because soon we will witness a strange phenomenon that even scientists have not been able to explain the exact cause.
With an environmental lawns on top of
A large fish kill.
Captured reams of dead fish rolling up.
In the bottom of the sky. 5,000 blackbirds fell within a one particular species.
All the events in this movie are based on video footage captured by the media, but strangely, never shown publicly. It was as if there was an attempt by the authorities to hide it from the eyes of the world. This movie tries to uncover a terrible outbreak that once hit Maryland County in 2009. A woman named Donna is the main narrator in this story. She claims that this incident was covered up by the government. But now, armed with all the footage and data she obtained from a hacker she trusts, Donna is determined to unmask the darkest incident in the city's history. The story begins with footage shot on July 4th, when Marylanders were celebrating an annual festival to commemorate their city's anniversary.
speaking. Hopefully you're gonna be with me.
I sat with my folks. It was... So, that's the main cleaner shop, and then one day he just up and Helen Wyckoff.
The atmosphere was festive. Donna, then a reporter for Ozone News, is seen covering the festivities. She captured the joy of the people taking part in the celebrations, while introducing the beauty of the city, which is known for its breathtaking scenery and abundant water sources. Much of Maryland is surrounded by seemingly calm waters, but who would have thought that something terrifying could be hiding beneath the tranquility? The origins of the Bay in Maryland have not only attracted many tourists to swim and relax, but also become an important factor in the region's economy. The county is known as one of the largest poultry producers in the United States, especially in supplying chicken meat to famous fast food restaurants like MCC. Amidst the excitement of the annual festival, a local official, Regent John, was also present to enliven the event.
It was Taryn liked it so much that he started a crowd made from some restaurant. Was a whole population, a whole lot of money. In the water, but most, trying to make a living, dealing.
However, the happy atmosphere suddenly turned into panic. A few hours after the festival began, a horrifying incident occurred suddenly. Participants in the crab-eating competition suddenly experienced severe vomiting, as if they were attacked by something unusual. Panic spread quickly, leaving everyone wondering, what exactly was going on? The story then takes a step back to footage dated May 18, 2009, a few weeks before the chaos at the festival. The footage shows a group of scientists conducting research around the Gulf. They share a shocking discovery: fish carcasses infected by a mysterious parasite. While filming the contents of the fish's badly damaged mouths, one of the scientists explained that these fish were infested with parasitic larvae that were slowly devouring their bodies from the inside. According to his explanation, the fish initially ate larval eggs scattered in the water. After the eggs hatched inside their bodies, the parasite began to destroy the fish's internal organs until they finally died. They reported their findings to Regent John and also to the Ministry of Environment. Unfortunately, the report was simply ignored, as if it was not important. The camera then switches to another footage uploaded by a resident to a local community website called Facts. In the video, a farmer can be seen standing in front of his cage that houses around 32,000 chickens. But what's even more astonishing is his admission that his farm produces 45 million pounds, about 20,000 tons, of chicken manure every year, all of which is dumped directly into the Gulf region. It was a disgusting sight. And finally, on May 27th, unrest began to set in. They were outraged and began protesting the farmers' actions in dumping waste into the bay ecosystem. The farmers' act of indiscriminately dumping chicken waste directly into the bay was clearly causing great concern. Residents began to fear that the water they used for daily purposes including drinking had been contaminated with hazardous waste that threatened the health of the entire community. In response to the unrest, Regent John tried to calm the residents down. He claimed that everything had been taken care of with the help of a state-of-the-art water filtration system, which was said to be able to filter out harmful microorganisms from water taken directly from the Gulf. To further reassure residents, John even confidently drank a glass of water drawn from the bay in public, as if to demonstrate that the water was completely safe. However, reality told a different story. The next day, a microbiologist named Dr. Selling made a shocking statement. He said that the seawater around Maryland was already heavily contaminated, and the level of pollution was now at a very dangerous level. The main cause is none other than chicken farm waste that has been carelessly dumped into the bay. Selling is very worried because many residents and tourists are still swimming and vacationing in the waters, without knowing that biological hazards are lurking in their midst. At the same time, far from the shore about 9 kilometers from the Maryland coastline there was a group of wealthy families relaxing on a boat. They were enjoying their leisure time by fishing in the sea, without suspecting a thing. But the excitement suddenly turned into great shock when one of them pulled in a fish, and a strange creature crawled out of the fish's mouth.
That's so big, I don't think you can do this. Look at that, Brad.
They all panicked, not expecting to see such a horrifying sight. Fast forward to June 10th, and the name Larry, the scientist from the previous team, comes up again. He had found another fish carcass that looked like a victim of the same creature. Larry planned to take the carcass for further examination.
As you can see here, we have these parasites called... Oh my god, this is disgusting. This is...
In the process of observation, they concluded that the parasite that had killed thousands of fish was not just any parasite, but a mutant isopod. These isopods are known as ancient bugs that have existed since 300 million years ago, living in various aquatic environments. But the form they found now was far more horrifying. The species had mutated, and started eating fish alive from the inside.
Here, odds are eating this fish alive.
They realized that if these creatures proliferated unchecked, a major ecological disaster would occur. With a growing sense of panic, the team of scientists again compiled a full report with footage and observations and sent it back to the Regent and the Ministry of Environment. But as before, the report was again ignored. Feeling that they could no longer wait, 6 days later, the scientists decided to dive directly into the Maryland waters to find out just how many isopods had spread. They took this dive very seriously, using state-of-the-art equipment and a full security system to safely explore the depths of the ocean.
Personal look at these parasites.
Aerial footage shows local people eating fish from the waters around the bay, unaware that most of them are infected with dangerous parasites. Meanwhile, on the other side of the water, a team of divers who had just reached the bottom of the Maryland Sea were suddenly attacked by a swarm of ferocious isopods. They were attacked alive, a horrifying sight that they could not escape. Finally, on June 18th, the public was shocked by the discovery of a corpse floating in the bay, its body covered in mysterious bite marks. Instead of providing a transparent explanation, the government released a misleading statement, attributing the death to a shark attack. But the public was starting to get suspicious. The wounds did not resemble shark bites, but more like the result of an attack by thousands of isopods that invaded simultaneously.
Shark attacks in the bay,
Well, I think, yeah.
It is brackish throughout the Chesapeake Bay, and
They got the results on the...
Things got out of hand when an amateur video was uploaded by a user to the community site YouTube Shorts. In the video, a young couple Waldy and Rear are seen enjoying a stroll in the dock area near the bay. In an intimate setting, Waldy with the dime intention of getting viewers invites Rear to swim in the sea, hoping that their video will go viral. Unsuspecting, Rear jumped into the water.
No. Oh, ha, very funny. They're just...
Unfortunately, it was a fatal mistake. Not long into the swim, Rear suddenly disappears to the bottom of the sea, and Waldy jumps in to help. Instead, they both fell victim to a vicious isopod parasite attack. To this day, their bodies have never been found, and are believed to have been eaten by the swarm. Meanwhile, at the city hospital, a new wave of patients began to arrive. Most of them were festival participants who had previously experienced extreme vomiting. The attending physician, Dr. Abram, felt that this was no longer an ordinary case, as the symptoms occurred simultaneously and seemed very strange.
Emergency operations.
Yeah, hi, this is Dr. Jack Abrams.
With great concern, Abram began documenting the patient's conditions one by one, noting all the oddities that occurred. He eventually concluded that this situation had crossed the line of normalcy, and was potentially a dangerous outbreak. Wasting no time, Abram contacted the CDC, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, in America, and in his emergency report, he said that he had now treated more than 30 patients with similar symptoms, all of whom were exposed after coming into contact with the Maryland Bay environment. A mysterious outbreak continues to spread in Maryland. Patients coming to the hospital are experiencing similar symptoms: chronic boils, strange bumps, and festering sores appearing all over their bodies. Dr. Abram immediately reported the case to the CDC as an extraordinary event. Meanwhile, a medical analyst named Robert, after hearing the report, decided to check the condition directly through citizen documentation. He found a viral video recorded by a teenager named Jennifer. In the video, Jennifer shows horrific wounds in the form of large boils all over her body. She claimed the wounds appeared after she swam in the festival water pool. In the footage, Jennifer looks in pain and confusion, before finally deciding to go to the hospital. On the other hand, a man named Uden, who had previously participated in a crab-eating competition, also claimed to be experiencing strange symptoms on his body, like something was crawling under his skin.
Noise. Oh my god. Did you just hear that? Look at this. Please, somebody.
Dr. Abram, increasingly convinced that this was no ordinary outbreak, sent medical records to the CDC. He explained that the disease was eating away at the victim's body from the inside, like a living thing growing and spreading inside the human body. A short while later, medical teams from the CDC began to map out the spread of the parasite outbreak, and they concluded that the water of Maryland Bay had been severely contaminated. Anyone who touched the water, even briefly, was at high risk of being infected with the deadly parasite. The solution? Amputate the infected body part, if you don't want the parasite to spread further and kill the victim slowly. In an increasingly dire situation, Regent John appeared on local radio broadcast, Ozon FM, to make an emergency appeal. He asked all residents to stop all water-related activities, including swimming, fishing, or even washing.
A lot of rumors being spread. Let me give you a little more clarity as to what's going on. Because of that, sometimes it's another with said. So, and I can't precautions. You can fortune it, but it's a fact of life here on the not go around scaring one and limit your time in the water today.
John said that doctors had confirmed that this horrific incident stemmed from severe water pollution. Shortly after the broadcast, John met with Maryland Governor William to discuss the next steps of the rescue. During the meeting, William revealed an old fact, that in 2002, the Gulf region had experienced a leak from a nuclear reactor, and the radioactive substance flowed into the sea, causing mutations in a species of isopod that is now parasitic. However, William emphasized that the government at the time had provided special funding to Regent John to build a water filter system with high standards like in the United States. But the harsh reality was revealed. After testing the water filtration infrastructure system, the results showed that the quality was very poor. This meant that residents had been exposed to polluted water without even realizing it. Even more shocking, Regent John, who had previously claimed to drink water directly from the Gulf to reassure residents, was in fact only drinking bottled mineral water purchased from Ozon Market. The act was merely a trick to appease the public, not proof of the filter's success. Meanwhile, after conducting a series of studies, Robert concluded that the parasite outbreak had reached black level status, the most dangerous level, where transmission could occur only through direct skin contact. He immediately warned Dr. Abram and the rest of the medical team to leave the hospital immediately for their own safety. In shock, Abram was in a dilemma. He asked in a heavy voice, "Should I betray my doctor's oath and just leave the patients?" But Robert replied firmly, "This outbreak has gone beyond conventional medical limits. This is no longer a matter of morals, but of survival." On the other hand, Jennifer, the teenager who had previously swum in the festival pool, revealed that the patients who came to the hospital one by one began to die. Before dying, they emitted something horrible from their bodies, as if a creature was growing from within. Jennifer, who witnessed one incident after another, was left speechless, especially since the medical staff was now losing hope and could no longer handle the situation.
Officer Paul, on the left, they reported the first death.
Shot? Dead. I don't see.
16 hours after the incident, we cut to vlog footage of a couple named Alex and Stephanie. They were on their way to Maryland to meet extended family, including introducing their son to his grandmother. Along the way, they were enthusiastic and enjoying the beautiful ocean scenery despite the murky and unclean water. During a break at the beach, Alex felt hot and asked Stephanie to go for a swim. But since she was carrying their child, Stephanie asked Alex to swim alone. Unsuspecting, Alex jumped into the water and took a leisurely swim. But a few minutes later he was startled. Something went into his mouth, felt alive and moved. He hurriedly got out of the water, but it was too late. Later that night, a man named Manna was conducting an independent investigation in the harbor area when he was suddenly startled by a terrifying scream from an unseen person. The voice echoed loudly in the silence of the night, a sign that the terror in Maryland had just begun. Breathing heavily, someone appeared to be hiding behind a fountain. The atmosphere turned frantic as they witnessed an infected victim suffering from extreme ulcers throughout his oral cavity.
Shit. Oh my God.
In the tense conditions, the man explained that the footage being made was his last documentation, before everything turned into a nightmare. Meanwhile, Alex and his family had just arrived in Maryland. Once out of the vehicle, Alex looks confused at the dock filled with floating fish carcasses. Stephanie also finds it strange the town, usually bustling with annual festivities, now looks desolate, empty, and eerie. On their way to the city center, Alex and Stephanie are suddenly shocked by the sight of dead citizens lying on the streets in gruesome conditions.
I want to get out of here.
Where are we gonna go?
Oh my God.
Shit.
God.
Where the hell are we?
An ambulance or someone to...
Their bodies decomposing unnaturally. Once they reach the restaurant where they are headed, Alex takes the initiative to investigate the surrounding area for help, while Stephanie tries to contact her friend Bio. A few minutes later, her call was connected. In a state of panic, Stephanie pleaded for help as all emergency services in the city had been paralyzed. No strong signal, no ambulances, and no officers. Bio, who heard Stephanie's voice, immediately asked about their condition, but fell silent in shock when Stephanie mentioned that there was some kind of strange wound that suddenly appeared on Alex's neck. The wound appeared shortly after Alex went swimming in the Maryland Ocean. Not long after, Alex began having seizures. And horrifically, an adult parasite tore out of his body. Stephanie, who witnessed her husband's death with her own eyes, immediately fell into shock. In her grief and fear, she began to suspect that her family had been victimized like so many others. Knowing there was nothing else she could do, Stephanie, who had gotten the keys to the boat from someone, decided to leave the city as quickly as possible, hoping to survive the biological disaster that had become unstoppable. Back at the hospital, which now resembles a scene from Resident Evil, Darth Abram is trapped and realizes that he himself has been infected. However, before the parasite completely eats away at his body, Abram decides to document the entire horrific event, including the faces of the innocent victims. But before his death, Abraham hopes that this footage can be found and disseminated to the world.
Organism, that's a symptom. It is not, is the isopod tissue, eating them from the inside, kidneys, lungs.
So that everyone knows how dire this threat is and how important it is not to ignore environmental pollution. Meanwhile, Regent John, who had been irresponsible from the start, was evacuated out of town in a police car, leaving behind a mess that claimed many victims. Along the way, the bodies of residents were strewn across the road, making the scene seem like a punishment from the heavens. But no sooner has John told us everything he knows than the car he's traveling in gets into a fatal accident, and he dies on the spot. The narrative then switches to Nona, who states that a few years after the horrific videos became widespread, the central government finally intervened. The president ordered a team of top scientists to contain the outbreak and eradicate the isopod parasites. Luckily, the government managed to eliminate the plague by spreading chlorine massively in the Maryland area, although many lives could not be saved. After the situation began to return to normal, the government collected all the video documentation that had been circulating and tried to cover up this tragedy from the public. An astonishing fact was revealed: the region was taking bribes from a rancher, who was suspected of being one of the initial causes of the contamination. The government even bribed witnesses and survivors with millions of dollars to keep quiet and not divulge what really happened. However, Donut, one of the survivors, refused the offer. He chose to expose all the rot hidden behind the dark events in the city of Maryland. This documentary really presents a horror that is no joke. But one big question remains. Did all this really happen, or is it just fiction? No one can answer that for sure. What is clear is that it all started with the negligence of officials, who ignored the contamination of seawater by chicken feces mixed with chemical waste from nuclear plants. As the plague spread, anyone who came into contact with the water would suffer a slow death from parasites. And although the city was saved, the government and the farm worked together to hide the truth. Well, that's the full story of the movie, The Bay, 2012, a horror documentary that really stirs emotions and gives goosebumps. That's all for this review and discussion. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and activate notifications so you don't miss other exciting videos.